Welcome to Funnel Reboot, the podcast that shares ideas on how to upgrade your lead generation. Here is your host, Glenn Schmeltzley.
Hey, Glenn here. Welcome to Funnel Reboot. Today we're going to talk about how marketing with video works. But first, I want to remind you that I'd love to hear what you think we should put on future episodes. Hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram, and you can also fill out a form on our website at funnelreboot.com or leave a listener feedback at 613-703-7073. To today's show, you can break down advertising by the medium of communication it uses. And since almost all of us started with text ads, we're comfortable with that format. We're also comfortable, or have become comfortable with social type ads. But there's one format that can throw a lot of us: video. Of course, production cost that you put into videos can vary wildly, and ad platforms like YouTube have a huge number of options and nuances to know about. But the one thing all video has in common is it makes a human-to-human connection that other media formats cannot hold a candle to. To demystify this field, we're talking with the founder of Variable.media, which for the past 5 years has been an agency that specializes in buying, optimizing, and reporting on paid media such as video campaigns. Its founder has appeared on Edge of the Web, Inbound Success Podcast, and on stage throughout North America, South America, and Europe. He has a bachelor's degree from California Lutheran University, and frankly, he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in the paid media industry. Let's go hear from Cory Henke. I'm really glad to welcome Cory Henke. How are you doing, Cory?
Doing well, Glenn. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
I'm more than happy to do it. And remind me again, Cory, you have an agency. It's called Variable.media. What does it do?
Yes. 5-year-old agency, Variable.media. We primarily focus on D2C brands. We do a little bit of B2B, but I'm growing in that area rapidly. And we buy primarily Facebook, Google Ads, but all the tier 2 platforms as well, such as TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and more. So primarily media buying. I think what separates us from many other agencies is our analytics, our ability to focus on Power BI and really combine platforms and tell a story with our data. So, that's us as an agency. 5 years old, successful, happy, and excited to be here.
Fantastic. And we're going to delve into video today. And this is an area that you know very well. You are a demonstrated expert in video. And what I'd like to maybe have you tell me is, what is the most common series of growth steps that you see a company doing if they haven't yet done any video to where they're actually running several video ads, as well as having organic videos on different platforms? What kind of things do you like to chunk out as the steps they take along that path?
Sure. I think, the first step is, obviously deciding who, we're going to target, who we are as a brand. And, if we're sticking to, small business, if we're sticking to B2B, then, I think one of the first steps is beginning to outline, what type of video that we want to create. And so in that creation process, right, where we start, it's really focusing on, are we going to build something that is animation? Are we going to build something that is human? And are we going to build something that is, completely different from that? Maybe includes, quick cuts of, stock content. Also includes, is there going to be a voiceover, etc. There's all these different, pieces. But I think the most important piece when you decide of what type of video and who's going to be delivering the content is the category, right? Am I going to relay what my brand is, right? Like, here's my brand, here's my product, here's my service. Does that continue into how my service is different? Does it continue into where my service is, where you can find it, where you can buy it, right? That all depends on the length of the video now, right? And
Yeah.
so are we building a 30-second, a 1 minute, a 4 minute, or a 10 minute, like video? And does that fit our budget? Does that fit the purpose? And does that fit the brand that we are? If we are a more complicated brand that needs more explanation, kind of like an infomercial, if we think about it from before, then that maybe requires a longer video. And when you have a longer video, you might choose YouTube as the platform of advertising because people spend more time in a lean back format, willing to watch your video for a longer period of time. If somebody knows your service and you maybe have a lot of competition, and maybe somebody, can search very quickly and find your service or brand, you might only need 30 seconds to explain, but you might have to have an offer.
True.
If you have competition, there. So those things kind of need to be thought about in the beginning of like, what is my brand? What is my service? What does it take to explain it to somebody, to capture that conversion or capture that lead? And then once you have that, you get into the story piece, of things. And so again, you start with length, what type of video, who's going to deliver the video. And then we have like that category piece of just like, is it going to be, more of a conversation? Is it going to be face to camera? I'm directly telling you the story. Or could it potentially be me walking you through a demonstration of the product? Right. So one of the best, I think, converting videos, no matter what industry, what brand, et cetera, is the product demo. And there is no more important case study to that product demo than the purple mattress Goldilocks video.
Okay.
And you can put that into any search, or you can go on YouTube and find it, the purple Goldilocks video. And so what happens in this video is, in trying to sell a mattress, they take eggs and they slam them on this glass, and they show that how like the eggs don't move, and how this mattress is just so beautifully built that like it's not even going to break an egg, no matter if we try to smash this heavy weight like on these eggs. And what it showed is that demonstrated the power of this product through a funny video. But again, that's what seeps through to a client. But that is one of the most powerful things. Are there interesting things that you can do inside of that though? Yes. Having a character adds value, holds attention. You as a founder relaying the message adds value, holds attention, right? So those things in that process of a product demo could add value. As you're demoing the product, is the logo on the product, right? Or within the first 5 seconds. Again, adding value. All these different little intricacies, little pieces begin to build something that could be, very special. I remember running video ads, and then we decided, halfway through, make this optimization. Oh, add the logo in now, and you begin to see brand search change, over time. So there's little, intricacies, but I think if we want to keep it simple, if we want to keep it just starting out, just always think about like, what type of video am I creating? What is the length necessary for conversion? And then ultimately the type, like, how am I going to relay this message? What is it going to look like? And this thought process, like this strategy for the video, it takes a long time. It's not something simple. And so sit down and really like think about, the way that you want to position this thing. And so with all that packaged up, right? Like all that strategy, everything that encompasses that, I want to like hold that over here. Right. And then once this is figured out, we can now decide, what platform do we put this on? And that's where it gets interesting, because if it's a longer form video, I'm always going to say, put that on YouTube. Always. If it's something that you can explain very quickly, you now have a multi-platform approach. You can now go Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube potentially and compare those results. But again, limited budgets might force you one place or another. But I think it's really going to depend on the brand. But package up all that strategy, marry it next to now your platforms and your distribution of that content.
Right. Yeah. It's what's interesting to me. And again, a lot of people have probably, been running, let's say a Google search ads campaign for a long time, where they're at least using, some SEO practices on their website, and they are paying attention to how content is activated, and you put traffic in front of it. But what you're helping me understand is that the creative, the video itself, is an assembly of many different elements, and those, like, it is a much larger thing than when we're looking at text ads, where we're maybe debating one headline versus another. Um, it's like we've blown a singular text ad into something that, even though it probably takes about the same time for someone's brain to absorb the content, you've got the logo, you've got the color, you've got, like you said, the whether it's animation or a talking head, you know is there captioning? There are just so many pieces that can come into play right inside the creative, to say nothing of the targeting. Right? Let's talk about some other similarities and differences between, let's say, a search ads campaign. One of the things that I think is quite different is the frame of mind that we're going to catch somebody in, compared to a google.com search. Can you take me through what you think of when you're thinking of putting a video up on a platform like YouTube, and how you have to think different from the way that you think when you do search ads?
Sure, absolutely. You said so many great things in there, Glenn. Should have been taking notes. Um, I wanted to touch on so many things that you said. I think the first thing that you said that kind of sparked me was about the content, and working with text ads and having content on the website and taking those text ads and leading them to content, right? What we were talking about before is if this brand was brand new. Those text ads, that content on your website, all this is amazing information to feed into your YouTube, like strategy or creative. Which pages garner the most, time spent. Which pages on an entrance, lead to the most conversions or leads, as well. You could potentially build content around this. If not, be able to do the face to camera, explain the brand, and then maybe that next section, that following 2 minutes, is just going through that blog post, going through those content, like pieces. That's what really sparked me when you said that, is that if you already have and are already running campaigns and then getting into YouTube, you're almost a step ahead based on what analysis you've already done and the information that you have to be able to feed into that. So that was something, very important I wanted to mention.
Sweet.
But sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so like on the similarities and differences side, what you helped me also appreciate was that when you're inserting or removing some of those pieces, you're doing a test, which we do all the time with A and B ads in a campaign. What are some of the other things that we can think about, and what are the types of targeting that you can do on a platform like YouTube that are completely different?
Sure. I'd say one of the biggest differences that people have to think about is that search is so intent based. It is somebody looking for something, trying to solve a problem that, in my opinion, is immediate. Because you can say the same thing about YouTube. Being the number 3 search engine, people are coming there to solve a problem as well. I just don't think it has the immediacy.
Well, like you said, they're leaning back maybe more, where we're literally leaning, we're sitting up and at our search engine.
Yeah, lean forward versus lean back. And so when you lean back, I feel like it's more of like a learning, type of platform. Excuse me. I want to, learn more about a topic or a subject versus, hey, I need to solve this problem. I need to buy this, immediately, like right now.
Yeah.
I think another difference that I see between, search and YouTube is that, and this is like something that I really want your listeners to understand, is that there are only so many searches in a day for certain keywords and certain phrases. There's only so many searches in a day. And so what they do is they make advertisers bid up. It's the way to make things more profitable. What that reminds me of is television. There's only so many hours in a day. And there's only so many TV slots in a day. Some TV slots more important, 6p to 9p,
Yep.
So what you have in YouTube is very similar to like Facebook and Instagram, which is an injection method. There's unlimited content, and it's how many ads people see, per visit. That is really the impact in terms of where they come back or whether they don't. So in that sense, right, if you are in a space where your CPMs are above $100, your CPCs are above $10, et cetera,
Yep.
but you're paying for that and they're getting to your website, what a great way to reach them again with compelling content, which is video versus text. And you can reach them because they might go to YouTube. They may not search for that thing again, but they could go to the YouTube platform and you can reach them. So what I want your listeners to understand is that search might be a limiting factor in terms of reaching your audience on a daily basis, where YouTube opens it up to maybe see that person in the middle of the night when they get home and watch a piece of content. Oh, hey, like I want to watch this piece of content with you. Oh, we got to go through this ad first, right?
Yeah.
So there is that always on factor of YouTube where you're able to reach potentially your audience, whereas like search might be limited to your competition, what you're bidding, and how many people search for that topic on a daily basis.
Yeah. Or you've helped me think of like display within, let's say, Google Display Network. What you got to watch for is you don't want to inundate them, right? You want to set some frequency caps. But I think part of what you're helping me see is that because the video is maybe dealing with a different thing, maybe it's at that point of we're describing the problem so that they get a full appreciation of what it would take to solve, that I may actually be able to reach them late night over on YouTube, but they're not seeing it as, oh, there's that ad again. It's like, no, I'm hearing something different. And maybe at a, low conscious level, they see, it's the same organization. But the more important thing is you actually like opened up a little piece of their mind and expanded it without annoying them.
And that's why those first 5 seconds are magical.
Right.
Because you can do a lot in those first 5 seconds. Hit them with your logo. Maybe it's the same text that was on that search ad that led to that landing page that that they hit.
Yep.
Right? Like you can link these two things together in ways that I think, it becomes very profitable.
There's a bit of a virtuous circle. Yeah. Go ahead.
Another thing that you mentioned was about the targeting. I want your listeners to understand that the targeting on YouTube is so vast and it's so intricate, and there's so many things that you can do, from life events to people in the market, geo, testing down to a 1 mile radius, 2 mile radius, 10-mile radius. You can target cities. But I think the most advanced placements that I've seen in the past couple of years is, I'll give you 3. The first one is placement targeting, being able to target certain YouTube channels. And so if you know certain things about your audience, what they potentially watch, you can target certain YouTube channels, certain YouTube videos. Like maybe there's one video that goes viral in your industry and you want to target that video, you can do that. The next thing is keyword targeting. Is that keyword targeting is also available. So the same keywords that you use with search, try those in YouTube. It's not to say that it always works, but it's totally, an opportunity to see if you can get similar, results from something like that. And then lastly, what I think is really cool that we test, that we always see great results in, is using a custom audience based on what apps you think your audience uses.
Whoa.
And so you can find different apps on the cell phone that they will target users who use those apps. And Google's ability to see into Android, own Gmail, own Google Analytics, own Google Search, own YouTube, they link this data together and make it very palatable, for success for their advertisers. So I think the targeting abilities are, top of the class. I don't think that there's anybody you can't reach. I just think that there is, a certain level of media buying that you have to learn, to be able to do these things, cross the T's, dot the I's, and make sure that, you have a really good way to analyze the data as it comes back to make sure that things are successful.
Yes, and we'll come to that. But on this note, for those who haven't done this, Cory is suggesting, and it's a good one to remember, that the backend ad platform that you would be using for probably all of this is Google Ads. And yes, they have integrated all of those different properties, and they can use all of the data. That doesn't mean that we get to see it, but we can definitely lay it on a platter for them, and they can pick up from those other things, like you said, the apps that people have downloaded. And they can make use of that for how they select an individual at a specific moment to show them something. When it comes to the YouTube ads, Cory, can you take us through maybe one key difference, which is some of the bidding strategies that you only see on video? How are they different? You mentioned CPM, so we can do that over on display. CPC, everybody knows that. What are some other ones?
So there's two primary ones. There's a max conversion and target ROAS bidding model, and then there's a cost per view bidding model. Both of them are in a skippable format. So the cool thing is you can run long form, with these two types. The difference is your cost per view campaigns, more people will make it past 30 seconds. Less people will click, less people will convert. So you get more reach, more branding, less conversions with a cost per view campaign. It is more upper funnel. Okay. And so if you want something to be more upper funnel, less conversions, more reach, that's where you would go, is that cost per view campaign to start. If you are looking for conversions, leads, you have your pixel set up correctly, you're already seeing conversions in your, Google Ads UI. Yes. This is where I would say a conversion campaign or a target ROAS campaign would be great to start, out the gate. And if you do have the dollars to test both of them against each other, do it. Absolutely. I'm the guy to always tell you to test variation testing, because I want you to see the difference. Because what you'll see is that the max conversion or the conversion CPMs are higher. The cost for anybody to make it past 30 seconds in a conversion campaign is higher, but the conversion rate is also higher. Those conversion campaigns deliver conversions. Those cost per view campaigns deliver views. Okay. Now, when you have bigger budgets, and again, aligns with the strategy that I'm telling you, cost per view for views, max conversion, target ROAS for conversions, take a cost per view campaign, and that's where you test creative. Why? Because you get more views. You get more eyeballs, so you can see higher completion rates, lower completion rates. Okay, Cory, but I want to know what converts best. Okay, put the creative in a conversion campaign. Correct. Now you can see which one converts best.
Yeah.
But that's how I would think about those two primary bidding models, right? Now, the other ones that we use, there's a few more that I'll explain, but the next two that I think are important is the non-skippable. We talked about skippable, cost per view, max conversion, target ROAS. That's skippable. You have the chance to skip, unlimited ad links. The next thing we'll talk about is non-skippable, and that's 15 seconds or less. Any 15-second ad or less. Yep. My strategy here is I primarily use these from a retargeting perspective. You buy them on a target CPM. So every 1,000 impressions, that's what you pay. You can set your target, whatever that may be, but 15 seconds or less. And we primarily use it from a retargeting perspective, because if I'm going to buy YouTube and try to reach a new user, I most likely want to do that with long form. I most likely want to give the user the ability to skip so they don't get upset. Yeah. Right? If that's a new user. If it's a returning user or a returning customer, I'm okay with showing them something 15 seconds non-skippable. They already know a wave. Me.
Yeah. Hey, I'm still here.
Already bought something from me. Here's a new product that I'm launching.
Right.
Here's an offer, for Valentine's Day that just passed, right? So these are the type of things that I think, 5s and 15s could be advantageous for. But again, it depends on the brand, product, etc. What they want to go through. After that, we have a few other ones that we don't use like a ton. I forget the name of it, but it's on an OCPM or a VCPM, which is a viewable CPM, and only runs outside of YouTube. It's more of a reach play where you're on apps and you're on, websites. And so it's going to be cheaper CPMs, really looking for reach, maybe app advertisers, something that, you really want to get outside of YouTube and really look at YouTube videos on websites and apps. And then you have ad sequencing. Ad sequencing, in my opinion, is just a different form of retargeting. And so what I mean by that is you can take one video, and based on what that user does during that video, you can then show them another video. And so you can say, okay, if the user skips the video, show them this video. If the user makes it past 30 seconds, becomes a view, we pay for them, show them this video next. And if the user doesn't do anything and it's just an impression, never hit the skip button or anything, show them this video. And you can continue to link that, farther down and farther down if you'd like. Now, I just call it a unique form of retargeting because it's very hard to
That's
do that.
exactly what I was thinking of calling it.
Yeah, it's very hard to do this on other platforms, like link video to video based on an action that a user takes. I think it might happen in the future, but we haven't seen extremely amazing results from it. I just think
Sure.
it's something cool that you can test, and I'm still waiting for a brand that aligns with it perfectly where it makes a ton of sense.
Sure. And, I mean, some of this stuff you've already bent my brain trying to think of it. But the other thing that I think kind of helps the average marketer is to think of video as something that can be blended into the current kind of funnel touch points that they have. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the analytics and how you should start to, using those marketing fundamentals of understanding what the buyer journey is like, how you can perhaps think of video as being a piece, and maybe which reports you would pop open in your ad platform or in GA to try to understand how those touch points are actually progressing someone down a funnel.
Sure. I think specific to video, analytics are so important for one of the reasons you said earlier. There's a lot of variables, when it comes to creative, right? The next reason why analytics are important is because video is very hard to prove in terms of performance. Why?
Yes.
Why is it hard for video to prove in terms of performance? It's because of user behavior. The last things that we do, because we live on a last click, attribution, methodology,
Yeah.
is search for something and convert. So search usually gets a lot, of the credit of YouTube's impact. So you sometimes have to look at a halo effect that YouTube can generate.
Yes.
We won't go into that, deeply. But what I want you to understand is that when you look at YouTube metrics, it's more than just seeing that conversion, right? It's seeing if people engaged with your content. And so what I want your listeners to understand is that if you go out and build a 3-minute video, I want you to understand that, like, somebody spending 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, with that video, is that person potentially worth more than somebody going to your website, 2 pages, 20 seconds?
I would think so.
You would. I mean, you would. I think another thing to think about is that, like, they're spending time with your content, your brand in the same way. They might not have the form, one page over, but there are both platforms, Facebook and, YouTube, which will allow you to put the form in the video, too.
Right.
So again, these videos and these platforms can play in a very unique space. But in terms of analytics, there's 3 sections that I would like, any beginning advertiser, any, seasoned advertiser to look at. The first one being, just the simple CPM, impressions, views, clicks, CPC.
Okay.
You would consider that the front line, your cost per click, your cost per 1,000 impressions, your cost per view, how many views you're getting. And I think if you're on YouTube, one of the most important metrics is your view rate. How many people make it past 30 seconds versus cut out prior to that, right? And so when you evaluate that, that's where you would see, am I paying more, less? If you have search going on, you get a real good comparison, as well. I think the next level that you look at after that CPC, CPV, CPM is you look at your Google Analytics data. Yep. Now, you can see your Google Analytics data in Google Analytics, but if you buy YouTube, you can see it in the ad platform as well. This is where I would like you to compare platforms and how they engage on your website. Do people coming from search spend 3 minutes? People coming from Facebook spend 1 minute? People coming from LinkedIn spend 8 minutes? Right. What do people from YouTube, how long do they spend, right? Like, they need to be in that comparison. So that's the next level. You have the first level, maybe you're looking at week 1. We move over to the next level, week 2. And then the last level would be conversions, right? Like, how many leads are happening? What is that conversion rate?
And I had a question on that, because this is where, anybody who's done a Google Ads campaign, they're very well versed in understanding what the conversion action is. Let's say a form fill. They're well used to looking at those tables in the interface and, ranking and understanding, all right, I'm getting either the number of conversions that I want or the cost per acquisition is in a range I want. You mentioned a few moments ago how there's a max conversions bid type over in YouTube, and it just kind of spurred the question, what do you consider a conversion on a video ad? Can it be multiple things?
It can be anything. Okay,
what do you think the top ones that we should consider making it?
I think it's going to depend, by brand. And of course, everybody hates that answer. But the cool thing about Google Ads is you can import goals from Google Analytics. And so when I say anything, like you can use time spent on your website as a goal, which could be considered a conversion. You can use pages per visit as a goal that you can import and use as a conversion. You can, pick specific forms that are maybe higher converting than others. So there's a lot that you can, I think play with, but, standard conversion, lead form fill out. Like I said, you can put the lead form on the long form video inside of YouTube. You can put the link form on Facebook. I believe you can do it on LinkedIn, as well. So I think there's power in testing people, bringing people to your website after watching a video, but there's also power in putting that form on the video, as well. And that form on the video, from what we've seen, analyzing millions of dollars, of ad spend, leveraging that type of ad unit is just, it brings in a lot of leads, and the quality is just less than what you get on the website. But there are a few gems. There are a few gems in there, and so again, it's that comparison. Like, how does this do versus that? And that's where the analysis comes in. Where we were talking about is being able to analyze these different types of efforts, because there's so many different variables, different types of video, different form, on page, off page. So you get a good understanding and a good way to segment to success, by being able to find the right variables that work for your brand.
Wow. You sure do. For me, bringing all this data in also helps me get a better appreciation for just how media works. It helps me appreciate that, you're going to be, figuring out how you spend the money, and you're going to have to track the metrics, but you're also really, like what you said, how do my visitors who came via YouTube act different than my users who hit a text heavy landing page? And what does that say about, is the product that we sell, is it just more conducive to being explained with a video than it is with a paragraph of text? Right? Like, I'm really starting to understand how I gel with my customers.
Yeah. You got it, Glenn. It's leveraging video to see, is this how my target market wants to be advertised to? We've also got this.
Sure.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've also got this little pet theory. Tell me if you agree or disagree, but that the time that you start to inject video into how a buyer comes to know your brand, that there's, I know it's a corny term, but it raises the intimacy of how the two of you are relating to each other. And this can be for something as humdrum as, some industrial product or an accounting software suite. What I mean by it is, when they start to say, yes, I have seen, like visually, their receptors have, seen your people, seen your product, seen maybe inside the walls of your business. There's something that I think happens there on the know, like, and trust spectrum that puts you perhaps at a better place where, let's say, after a little bit of interaction with you, it's time for your salesperson to make contact with them. I have to believe that if they've seen something like some videos that you've artfully placed prior in the journey, and you can tell that they've watched them, that your rep using a LinkedIn video message or sending them some other, maybe sending them a personalized landing page that, has a really looking forward to tomorrow's demo. I've got to believe that you have brought yourself higher in their kind of reception, and that they're gonna now feel like they can make this segue to paying your company money, and that gets accelerated, I think, when you're using like a high bandwidth medium like video compared to text. What do you think?
Oh, 100%, Glenn. 100%. We relate to each other as humans. We start hiding behind text ads and, where we're going to be. But I think if you take what you said like a level deeper, this is what I want, your audience to take away from that. Like everything you said, Glenn, was perfect. And if I could, paraphrase, it's just, humans talk to humans, like
Yep.
we're going to be able
Yep.
to impact them face to camera better than any sort of, like talking head video. But what if you have a founder, right, who created a video, and then you had one of their salespersons create a very similar video, and you tested them against each other.
Wow.
And you saw that the audience responded better to the salesperson. And the CEO was humble enough to go, you know what, I'm never doing a video again. But how would you know that without testing, analyzing the data, and understanding like, hey, man, take a step back. We've got this over here, right? And that's kind of the beauty of it, is that you're right. Like we sell to each other, like face to camera is going to work. It's going to have an emotional impact.
Yes.
But also the person who's delivering it matters so much. We did this test with Dintech where we used black male, white female.
Okay.
Same exact ad. Funny version, normal version, right? And we used two different products. We found that the normal version worked better. We found out that the white female did much better than the black male. Okay. But we also found out that like the products, there was no change in results.
Oh.
So what we found is that it was more about who was delivering the message and the type of storytelling that mattered more to that user, not necessarily the product being, presented. Yes. And that's what kind of shocked us for a little bit and really taught me about variation testing. But the most important factor is what you take from it, because, right, it's going to make things perform better, right? White, female, normal version, doesn't matter which product. But then it's like, I know who to put on my next Instagram post. I know who to put on my next brochure, right? Based on the information garnered. So there's consumer research, inside of like this creative that you don't necessarily get inside of a text ad. And that's why I love it. That's why I love like the video stuff, is that you can find out so much about an advertiser's audience, just about the way that they respond to the video.
Yes.
What YouTube channels they're going to watch before, you deliver what YouTube videos they're going to watch before they convert. And then also, the age, gender, the household income, parent versus non-parent, all that information in addition. So I just think it's a wealth of information that you can get in addition to using the almost like the best medium to, reach and convert a user.
Sweet. I don't want to leave the conversation without addressing something that an average marketer has to deal with that we've kind of just talked about tangentially, and that is production value. And I wonder if maybe you did in this example with the different genders and the different messages, this kind of variation testing. But I wonder, should we think about, if we're trying to move ourselves along video, but we're not at the point where there's budget for a production house, or even a videographer, and we're trying to shoot stuff off our phones. Like, do you suggest that we try to, instead of abandoning it, that we actually even just try to do something small scale to test, if for no other reason than to see that we got the type of talker right, we got the type of subject right, we got the type of targeting right, and this proves now that we can go and ask for budget for a proper video production with higher value?
Glenn, I get this question a lot, and every company is going to be so different, small, large, medium, in terms of how to solve this problem. True. What I would say is that when you think about a production budget and like what to create, and a lot of the things we talked about in the beginning of this video, think about it like you're building a business. It's the first time I've ever said that, but it's just so true. It's like building this video is literally like building a business. And so you have to put a team together, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, where do I find this team? Where do I find who's going to put this video together? Like, do I go to a production studio? Do I do it myself? Do I set it up? There's a variety. It's so open in
Yeah.
terms of the steps that you can take. You can go to YouTube, learn how to do it, buy all the different pieces on Amazon, have it delivered to your house, and execute on it. You can do that. It's completely capable of doing that. But, you know, it's difficult. It's hard. You've never done something before, and it might not be as good as potentially hiring, a production, place to do it that you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
All that is going to come down to like what you can afford time wise and dollar wise, right? But all the tools are there. And so building the video is just like building a business. If you got a little bit of investment, you're working in house at a place that's doing well and they've staffed you with a little bit,
Yeah.
hey, take that money, create some variations, put some strategy together, and thank you and thank yourself because you got a little bit of budget to pull this off. If you've got nothing, if you've literally got like nothing, start your business with nothing. You can do it.
That's
Be
right.
scrappy. Just try it. Like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, yeah. Make the minimum viable video.
And I think exactly. And I think like if you're already running search ads and spending money there, peel off $500.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe 5,000 impressions you're going to take from this month because it's your lowest month, right? Let's find somebody, to come shoot like a really good video. But again, I think whoever is the owner of that video, and this is what I've seen across many brands, it's the owner that has to do it. It's the owner that has to like put in the work to really like sit there, put the strategy together because it's his or her business, and they want the look and feel. They want, this like, I had to deal with this recently where it's just like, so we're like, Cory, you should build a course, and you should teach this stuff. And I'm like, okay, great. Who's going to write the chapters? Me. Okay, great. Who's going to write the content? Me. Okay, great. Who's going to do all this? Me. Right? Like, so again, I think it's somebody, especially in those beginning phases, Glenn, because again, we wanted to talk about like that beginning, like how do I get it started? Like, it's just like building a business.
Yeah.
It takes a while, it takes some massaging. Yeah. You push through it.
And I love that. I mean, it's literally the voice of, the person who heads the business. I think, I might be misremembering, but I think the video that was done back in the 80s by Apple called The Crazy Ones, I think that was originally scripted and voiced by Steve Jobs. Now, he was only doing it to try and show the cadence that he wanted, because I think they got Richard Dreyfuss to actually voice it over. But if it works for Steve Jobs, it can work for you.
Yeah, I think you have to be bold. I think if you want something to work, you have to get out on a ledge and take a chance. And so,
just the last point on the video one, the one I've seen is that a mistake that can happen is that too much is put into the one video. Like somebody says, we need a corporate video, right? And that's a deadly mistake because it starts to, all right, if we're only doing one, right, your mentality becomes, well, let's throw everything into it that we, ever could say, and you do it. And of course it's going to please no one. And it's probably, been watered down by committee, right? So what you're much better to think about is, like that would be like the crash diet of videos. What you're better to think of is like, what is my regular diet and exercise program every day? So where can I put like an editorial calendar out where I say, okay, I can't make all the videos at once, but I can do something this month and next month and next, right?
Yes, not necessarily one video, more of a content strategy, right? And it's easy as just take your blog post, find out which one did the best. Let's make a video about that. Yeah. That's where we start. And then continue, from that. Before you know it, you got 50 videos on YouTube.
Yeah, no, and I have people I know who've gotten up into the hundreds just by doing that. You can do it. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
Exactly. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Cory, you have done such a great job simplifying something that many of us find complex. If people want to find out more about you or Variable Media, where can they go?
They can just reach out to me on Twitter at Cory Henke. That would be awesome.
All right. Well, we'll include that in the show notes. And I just want to finish by saying thanks so much for coming on.
Appreciate the time, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the listener, thank you for listening to the end. If you think that there's some value that you got out of this, or someone else that you know should hear this and what Cory has to say, please share this with them. And I hope that you found at least one thing that helps you make your funnel even better.
Thanks for listening. Follow the show on Twitter at Funnel Reboot. If you like what you have heard today, please consider leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts.